with a very heavy heart and very great difficulty. We will be laying off virtually everyone whose voice you recognize on the air who is a paid programmer.
There was a point in the mid-'70s where it was the most listened to FM station in New York. Like 1967, 68, it was a lot of ferment in politics and culture at that point. WBAI is a great place to listen into it. Early stages of the gay revolution, live coverage of the Paris riots, very good coverage of the Vietnam War and the anti-war movement, and then just got in this vicious death spiral. It's sad. I mean, this is a tremendous resource, a 50,000 watt radio station in the middle of the FM dial, potential audience of 20 million people. It could be a great political and cultural resource. I did a show on WBAI, which is a listener-sponsored radio station in New York, for close to 15 years, I think. And the station's finances have been deteriorating for a decade. Several months ago, it was revealed that the station was way behind on its transmitter rent and its studio rent. And it was just completely insupportable. And then the studios were on Wall Street. They got hammered by Hurricane Sandy. They were driven out of those studios. A fundraiser was driven off the air.
The basement was completely flooded. It took out all the power, and it was a disaster. But it was not like the first nail in the coffin. It was the last one. The management's been horrible. As much as people might want to say the programming has suffered over the years, it's been a fish that's rotted from both ends in some respects. I think in a lot of ways the station was failing to respond to the changing marketplace. This subscription model that with premiums had stopped working a long time ago. All of a sudden, the financial crisis was right in front of us, and we couldn't ignore it or pretend that it wasn't there anymore.
We laid off 19 people. We have Kathy Davis, ANDREA SEARS in the news department, and so forth and so on. It was very tough, but it was either that or, shutting down WBAI. People do not want to accept the fact that WBAI is a corporation. We are a not-for-profit, progressive, anti-status quo corporation. So most of the board members do not have any experience. So they are activists, they are political activists. So they become political on the board, and it becomes a whole political battle.
It's always been just barely making it financially, except for some relatively good times and a lot of really bad times.
LYNNE, ROSEN, and her husband were very energetic. They had a self-help program telling people how to fight depression and to be upbeat.
Bringing that out in terms of going for your goals and dreams. I think that vibe, right, and connection.
2-3 months ago, they committed suicide together in their apartment.
I don't know if that had anything to do with the station. It's horrible, but it fits with everything else that's been happening, in a very macabre way. It was a shock, and we've had several deaths lately, so it came in that context too.
When you find yourself in the same situation over and over again, and it looks like fate is against you, maybe there's something wrong with yourself. A good part of the decline of WBAI over the last couple of decades was the ebbing of the political culture. There's just this sense of torpor all over the place, and no radical political culture to speak of in New York or in the country.